Right, hello everyone, and this is a mid-afternoon stream of my choosing because I've got nothing better to do with my time. I'm not in work. I'm stuck. Can't go anywhere. Um, Somebody has, you know, a jumper has sort of caused massive delay down my neck of the woods, so um, there's nothing going on. Um, so I hope if anyone's watching or is around, if you can join, thank you. Um, I was planning this maybe to talk about this on Saturday with Iron Duke and the others, but I don't know if I'll be able to make it. So I thought I'd do this two stories that have come up, um, and I think probably go hand in hand, and it's just like the state of politics now. So we have a new prime minister. It's Andy Burnham, who was previously mayor of Greater Manchester. He has been swept in to power um, in quite a way similarly how Rishi Sunak was actually. It was just like that almost like there was no internal bickerings you see within the Tory or Labour Party with those two. It was just a coronation. It was all already ordained and seems to be the systems guy almost. But on this occasion, it is slightly different because uh, we have the team that's going to be working around him, the communications team, and it is made up of people from, wait for it, hope not hate, the very organization which has harangued many people, traditionalists, people who are right wing commentators online for years now. And I wouldn't even say harangued and harassed and written hit pieces. They've actually really caused damage for many people. Other people have lost jobs, been debanked, even before Nigel Farage's famous case with Coots a few years back. And we have now this lot, and remember last year, of course, how they went after Morgoth, that like insane levels of tracking, going off, sort of behaving like almost like a secret police level, going around to their his former neighbors and friends and and all that sort of stuff, and how they did this massive hit piece on revealing his identity. And so we now have a um, these people in government. These people now being the advisors, those with the senior positions in and around Burnham, who will be making the decisions. And like many, this has sort of been the alarm bells because we've for all the criticisms of Starmer and the vitriol from conservatives in this country and particularly America, the American right, who view him as some what is it, like Islamo-fascist or something like that, on akin to that. Um, a lot of it was hyperbolic, and a lot of it was hyperbolic nonsense. But I do worry in this case with these people that this would be the big crackdown. Many people who on the right, commentators and viewers of their favorite commentators, will now be wondering, of course, is this going to be the one big final crackdown? Literally just the end of going back to pre-internet age where you you can't get the message out, you can't communicate with a wider audience anymore. It's gone. and with these people, and it also signals Burnham's agenda. Um, During the by-election, of course, he very much played up the concerned Labour, type of immigration, and even did a bit of lip service to the right, to dampen Reform and Farage, and as expected, that Labour Party politicians, they can pivot to the right. Um, the winning political formula, as always stated in this country, is you have to be economically, left wing in the sense of nationalisation and protectionism, but socially you have to be slightly more traditionalist. That's always been the winning political formula, and probably is to other countries as well, but particularly in United Kingdom. When you have conservatives who are the inverse of that, Thatcherites on economic stuff and socially liberal, they're usually these sort of grey losers. They tend to be the sort of failures, and their careers end up in failure. And talking of failures, another story that sort of coincided with this is, of course, um, Liz Truss and the creation of CPAC. Now, CPAC is the conservative, um, like this conservative meeting um, event that was born out of America, within the Republican Party and all that sort of stuff, to promote conservatism and all that. There's a few good documentaries on you can find out there of like the conservative revolution in the 1990s, and the push to for the Republican Party to cease being such a big, because uh, before the 90s, the two parties in the United States, the Democrats and the Republicans, operated as like these big tent where you could have politicians with radically different positions um, in the same party. I mean, for example, the most obvious one was the segregationists, and then the in the south, but then also the liberal multicultural types up north and what have you, as one example. But also like the liberal um, Republicans in New England, comparing to the more traditionalists that were born out of the Midwest and South, and same with there was a more of an open tent stuff. But then you had this movement that was created to firm up conservatism, let's say. And so we got this exported here. The problem is with CPAC and these people is you're 30 years too late. Conservatism is dead, quite literally, and more and more so, their biggest proponents for this seem to end up, without being morbid about it, winding up dead anyway, or die off, or quit and run away to America to host a show on Fox News, or host a podcast show, and work for the Republican Party. That's literally where it is, and there's nothing you can really counter to that. Let me just bring up, and so I will say it was odd. It was odd to this was, I think it was on Wednesday. Um, it was a pretty bizarre decision. You want to have people to come and all that. It's a pretty bizarre decision to do this on a weekday. I think it was whether Wednesday or Thursday, but to do it on a weekday in particular. And as pointed out here, I'll just play this clip of Liz Truss. As you can see, many empty seats.
Cultural and spiritual nihilism, open borders and rising unrest. This week, we will have yet another Prime Minister installed in Downing Street, Andy Burnham, the 7th within 10 years. What do you all think of Andy Burnham? I've been there. I know that nothing will change. Cultural.
Yeah, so enough of that. This is where the conservatism is in Britain. It's rehashed, Americanized slop event, but more importantly, it's also, and without being rude about some of the audience attendants, a lot of them are old. Half of them, the room is empty. It's a dead and dying belief, but also that it comes down to the crux of whenever the right, the centre right, are at the sort of crunch point when it comes to their conserving society, they can't articulate the self-evident thing of, particularly in a globalized society where you have all these populations and people moving, they can't articulate the idea of a British person, an English person, a native, because they in their worldview this goes into a form of ethno-nationalism and Nazi, because of course they can't really think for themselves. They can't really think at all. They all they think is there is this in this sort of bizarre Cold War era thinking of, you have capitalists and then you have the Marxists and the collectivists, and then you have the dangerous thing of the evil extreme that bubbles below the surface, and that we have to keep on the straight and narrow. And you see this with a lot of reform people, um, like the idea that these Afghans that came over, who was it? It was the Reform MP for Forester Dean up in Wiltshire. Uh, what was it? He said that they'll be New English, New British. Yeah, that they're just like the Normans or what have you. Um, they can adapt, and it's like they can't, and also they're not. Um, You're generic, but also there was another one as well. There was like I say Kaczynski, the Unabomber. No, but the Hungarian one that I'm thinking of, who has like he's not even European. He's a Turk. He's a Magyar. He's a Hungarian. He's not even European. One drop rule. Um, he's not even European. He's a shifty steppe nomad. Um, I mean, it's true though, isn't it? Like, anyway, they can't articulate what a British person is. They don't really believe in Christianity as a form of religion, because when they're confronted with opposition to it, they fold. You know, they can't defend their own religiosity. They can't defend what the is to be British. They can't even really defend their own history, because they will try and, like, whenever the left confront them with the whole racism, they will do mental and like physical backflips to show how unracist they are. And so, as a movement, conservatism, I mean, it's dead. It's been dead a long time, but quite visibly, it is dead. But more importantly, with the Liz Truss, and you look at Burnham and compare the two, the system wants Burnham. That much is clear. The stars were all aligned, and they want him. I think because largely Starmer is so unpopular, and he's sort of become this pariah, this international pariah with many people, particularly right-wing politicians in America and elsewhere. But he also became like, I guess you could say, like this this sort of living embodiment of the liberal system, which the ineffectiveness of the liberal system and multiculturalism. And so but also he didn't really help his own corner because he didn't build coalitions. He alienated every strata of society, from his own to his political opponents. I mean, you grant you the political opponents one is expected, but even from his own side. And he had this really bizarre situation where one side of his party said that he was anti-Jewish and really really pro-Muslim, and then from the other sector you had the other side where they said he was way too Zionist and anti-Muslim, and obviously this had real effect because it caused a massive boost for the support in the Green Party within some areas. It also encouraged independent councillors of like Pakistani and Asian descent for standing, but also that your party, that Corbyn and Sarah Sultana party, and also the truism, reverse. You saw Labour people going on. I think it's like some joined up with Lib Dems and stuff, and what have you. So it's had an effect. It's had an effect both ways, and he was obviously not much of a people person, and when it came to the negotiation points and everything, coalition building, he was quite ruthless, but in some ways it was admired in the sense of by some, the whole memeing of Starmbots and Starmerites and Stormtroopers. In some ways, it did help. Like if you take, for example, the Iran war, and you had the reform and centre right lot, and even these clowns up on stage here, very much wanting Health Leather to join in with the United States to topple Iran, because that was the original aim. The regime in Iran, he refused because probably knowing that number one, British military capability is not there, but also number two, um, probably realised that any military involvement in that region would be very long, very drawn out, and yield no rewards, and probably even said people from within his own party wouldn't support it anyway. Regardless, though, regardless. But now we come to Liz Truss. She was there for what? A few weeks, couple of weeks. I remember she was there when the Queen died. That was the whole thing. Like she shook the hands with the Queen, and then she died. Like the Queen that is died like a day later, up in Balmoral, and then she was present for the funeral as Prime Minister. And then you had the gilts come back on the bond market, and due to her policy, the official story is that Liz Truss almost bankrupted the country, and the Bank of England had to stop, and that people within the Tory party realised what she was doing, and then swiftly removed her. Um, yeah, her and Kwasi Kwarteng, because he was the Chancellor, um, and then Rishi Sunak, who was the runner up, who because there was the leadership election between her and Rishi. He was then basically appointed from within the Tory party as the leader, and that was it. Uh, and then of course Starmer, we know the rest. Though in reality it was a bit different. The and Dan on lately has talked about this. A few others talked about, but the guilts were always going to come back. This was always going to be happen. But effectively, the regime didn't want her in place, largely because probably a lot of her own policies that she wanted to implement were not in time. But also, if you look at the people that she was, hanging around with and everything, and also because she's a total dunce. Let's be honest. Uh, this is just a total dunce, and the same as Kartang. Um, Yeah, the system did her in because they wanted Rishi. I mean, they wanted Rishi originally, but the system did her in. And she, till this day, will always be remembered officially, though I think unfairly and not entirely, true, as the one that nearly bankrupted the country and was forced to go because of that. Um, of course, that's not true, but to explain it, you can't really explain why it's untrue because the narrative was already set on that. But the thing though is, she quite clearly is crap as well. I mean, she incredibly crap. She allowed herself to be cooed out. She didn't have any sort of baseline support, and also she made the ultimate mistake of trying to govern and trying to do pretty much what Starmer does. And Starmer could do everything he wanted as long as he was doing what the system wanted, and that was fine. At this point, the Tories were, if you all cast your mind back, they had reached the end of what I would say the civil service cycle. They wanted them out. The system wanted them out. They wanted the Indian guy in there. They wanted you know everything aligned for a certain like Labour victory because we go back between the two uni party stuff. But on a deeper level, these people, and I might be here sitting on my podcast and everything else with my 900 subscribers and few viewers on this, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not a politician. But a lot of these politicians now, and particularly on the right, all of them are just social media whores. If we're just honest here, they're just social media whores. They're commentators. They for them, they just want the podcast circuit, and they just want the media circuit. Even, I hate to say it, even Rupert Lowe is like this. He ran off and he's done Joe Rogan and all that sort of stuff. But um, I think the and you see the blunders in that. The Dunblane stuff was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. For, you're being exposed, right? Because a lot of people, there are people in this country who don't know who Rupert Lowe is fully. They will know his name. They might know, oh yeah, he went from Farage and everything, but he may not know much about him. You have to be on, particularly on something like Joe Rogan, where you're going to have not just mass members of the public, but also journalists and other people reporting. You need to be, you know, on ball. You can't be making blunders, particularly about Dunblane, for God's sake. And the banning of handguns from that, the restriction of handguns from that. You could have said on that case, it was a lapse in policing, that a guy who had history with them from owning a gun. There was also in the 80s a mass shooting in the southeast as well, in a sort of rural village. Similar thing. The guy had was known to the police, and he was actually, if I remember correctly, he was meant to have his license, the gun license, taken away, but it was some clerical error within policing that prevented that. But just to make a blunder, and then that's what they focus on, and the whole media machine has content to criticize you with, was ridiculous. I mean, you're on, you have to be focused. You have to be better than this, you know. And just going, oh, I don't care. Oh, I don't care, lefty. And it's like, come on, what, you're not. You, you're not meant to. You're not here to be a commentator. You're here to be a political leader, and you can't be saying stupid shit like that and be making mistakes like this. Anyway, sorry, I won't go up. That's a separate matter. But that bit did annoy me because it basically set the narrative as look at all these Restore people. They're denying, gun violence, and they're Dunblane, and it gives energy. It gives energy behind a lot of this, and everything, and it makes less people likely to support it. But I don't know. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of those people don't really care, because one of the things, a lot of the um, power that the system has with the right is they dangle pretty things in front of their faces. They dangle prestige, power, honor, um, and including them into the system as well in some cases. Um, and they fall for it. There's one particular chap who pushed Liz Truss back in the day, I will say, a few years ago, still does to this day. Um, is on supported reform, supports now Restore, and his origin story. And I've said this a million times, but he's totally astroturfed. He went on a trip to that country. He has backers. He's part of this transatlantic slop network. My first interaction with one of these groups was, of course, the Calvin Robinson fella, who basically has turned his religion, um, or Christianity, I should say, into this. I don't know what, like a teenage girl who has badges on her bags, her school bags. Like these badges. Remember those, like those Velcro badges you put on. Or I'm now this today. I'm now that today. Um, and it's such a LARP. All of this shit is such a LARP. It's so fake, and it's why people get tuned out. A lot of people in our space, from that I've known over like 6 years so far now, particularly online right space, people who produce a lot of good work, commentary work, a lot have tuned out because a lot of these fuckers are fake. A lot of these guys will promise the world, and then they'll promise we're going to get behind this and this, it's going to be great, and then it's like a level of backstabbing, and then they're like, oh no, we will support this person, or we will not support this person, or we'll return back to liberal framing, or we'll return back to leftism. And it's just, you know every time. And now we're at a position, guys, where Hope Not Hate, uh there's a regime in government regime where it's run by former people at Hope Not Hate. So well done. And we're no and the right is no further forward. Um and whenever we confront them, whenever we try and pick up some core ideas, like God, the simple idea. I mean, it's not the bare basics of a form of identity, all right? A form of identity, because the reason why identity is so important is it manifests destiny. The right needs to have a vision of the future. This is what you're seeing on screen now is people replaying the past. The more that you replay the past, you'll just die. You will just go into. Let's talk about echo chambers. People who are reliving their heydays in the 90s, early noughties, height of neoconservatism, which is what we're seeing here, and what you're seeing with the MAGA movement. Because the MAGA movement in America has just become a neoconservative movement, um, and it's ostracizing people left, right, and centre. It is just, it's nothing new. It's not. I mean, it's not even really populism. It's populism in the sense of, remember when life was great back 30 years ago. This is what we're being offered. A right wing conservative, a British traditional thing, cannot be based in Americanisms in America. There is no future in America. There is just none. There is no future in the American right. There is no future in the American right-wing space. There's only fraud, greed, degeneracy, and globalism. And that's just me being honest. And this is what these fuckers here offer. They want to offer you. They want to offer all that. And we say no. We have to say no. And it is difficult because at the same time, we talk about the demographics, we talk about society, we talk about um, the state of the country, but we also need to have that I guess you say like positive vision, but that there's we need to have a vision of the future, and the vision of the future has to be based in a form of British exceptionalism, of British English exceptionalism, where I would not be afraid to be isolationist. We heard from like again Rupert, who said that Britain, England was quite open society for much of the Middle Ages compared to European ones. That's not true. It is literally just not true at all. Any historian worth their salt would tell you that when it came particularly to the Anglo-Saxons and the Angles and the Saxons in the early medieval period, we had to be in some cases forcibly converted to Christianity. We were quite late. We didn't adopt a lot of any of the Roman customs. The final, I guess you could say, the final um, forceful adoption came from the Norman conquest, and then of course the English people went on to commit. When you had the Danes, the Saint Bartholomew massacre, where we cleansed a lot of the Danish people, Scandinavians living in England in the wake of the Viking era. We, you know, the king. It wasn't the king, by the way. Edward the First. It was the merchants, the English merchants, who petitioned him to kick out Jewish people practicing usury out of the country, this grand expulsion. It was during the Wat Tyler peasants' revolt, which I think there's a film coming out, which will probably miss the mark a bit on that, but that targeted a foreign merchants in London, like the Flemish or those of the Hanseatic League, who they viewed were, uh, you know, abusing the English population on trade wise. There is a long history of us being isolated, and it's quite normal because islands are quite isolated. If you look at Japan, for example, and us, that our societies that live on island communities tend to be isolated when it comes to certain like ideas and in some ways technology, and sometimes it can swing the other way. You have like this great sort of drive. Um, for example, in like the Roman era, when the Romans came to Britain, the Celtic population was still using chariots. But by that time, and certain war techniques which had been abandoned by their other Celtic brethren centuries earlier in the mainland. So this idea of this like grand, uh, friendly nature of Britain, I mean, probably comes from that because we were an empire, and so we did invite dignitaries and world leaders from around the world Um, and also at one point we invited Protestants from France and what have you, the Huguenots. But that was when our society was imperial, when it was an empire expanding in the North Americas, in the West Indies, into India. And usually people who were part of that were from quite exceptional background themselves. They were quite exceptional. Um, well, crypto. I will say a lot of the expansionist empire people in Canada, for example, the original like Hudson Bay, were a lot from the West Country, and then in the Calcutta factories out in India, a lot of it was Scottish. Um, though maybe they did the Scots did behave in a in a similar way. They you would have these companies who would or let's see these various factories who uh would you know everything was done in house. Outsiders weren't welcome. Let's just put it like that. So maybe there was a few similar behavior originally, but of course, yeah, we all know what you mean. Let's look at the comments here. Burnham got his political consultant or something. Yeah, he got um, a political consultant. The I think it's the number director of transition um, in communication um, from Hope Not Hate. Of course, they have they really went to town right back along with a lot of people we know and that we've spoken to. Uh, I mean that they are that they were probably the first ones to do an active doxing campaign. Like a state-sponsored doxing campaign against dissidents, and also encouraging political violence. And I will say this, they did encourage political violence in and around Southport. That fucker Nick Close deliberately posted false information, and he would have known it was false because it was already came out by the police it was false, and nothing was done about it. Remember the acid attack I think it was in Middlesbrough or something like that, and he was posting constant uh, information that this was like an ongoing thing, and it was an acid attack against a Muslim woman. It was totally fake, and due to that tweet, you had armed Pakistani Muslim men, Asian men roaming the streets, and even a couple attacking sort of people. Remember they attacked people at a pub and all that sort of stuff. And then you had that Sky News woman who was surrounded by them on bikes. He caused that. He literally that fucker instigated a riot, and nothing happened. And look, the way our government has worked is they will use Antifa is you know like in the Bolshevik um, like in the Bolshevik Revolution, they use criminals and thugs to terrorize the population. They will use these people and Antifa, their foot soldiers, more actively. A prediction is you're going to see more of a Antifa presence in many cities across the country, stretching out probably even beyond, and political violence will be normalized. And I hate to say it, the death and the murder of Anne Widdecombe, it looks like, and this is reports initially coming in, that the person behind it, who they've arrested, may have been a member of a it says a left-wing political party. I'm guessing possibly the Green Party. That's an assumption, but it could be Labour. Um, you're going to see more and more um, killings, just open killings, and more attacks on tradition, like conservatives. And if I'm going to be honest, like Anne Widdecombe wasn't. she wasn't even like that right wing. I mean, she was economically, there was a stature right. She just didn't believe gay people could get married, for God's sake. I mean, it's nothing crazy like that, but conservatives are getting killed. Right wing, you know, what is the future? Yeah, and they did the same thing back in the day with the BNP. I mean, think how far back that was. I mean, imagine that. Um, the comparing it. Imagine back then saying what the treatment you're seeing with the BNP, like back in the early 2000s. That's what like your average retired conservative politician will get today, and everyone thinks it's funny. Everyone doesn't really care. We'll just go to the next news item. Timing is interesting due to heat and Farage. It is, it is, and they got that by-election clapped in August, early August. I mean, it does make you wonder. It does. I think, and I've just because I've been thinking like who benefits from this? Who benefits from the this? It could be, and oh, I when I was I remember reading about the Bolshevik Revolution and particularly the Russian Civil War. You would have instances where where the Bolsheviks would, and sometimes with the whites, but with the Reds, they will attack a white village which supported whites or something, or a village, and it wouldn't be for necessarily a reason, like a deliberate reason, because probably it would be better not to do that logistically, but it would spread enough terror because it would think, oh, if we displease them or something like that, we could be next. Um, and so I was wondering with the Anne stuff, was this a warning to reform, or was this a warning to traditional conservatives or anybody on the right? I feel like this may be just more of a warning, if I'm absolutely honest, that this is like new regime, new warning. And another thing with Hope Not Hate, if you remember, it was revealed, I think it was in one of the documentaries they were doing, that they were able to get fake passports. Now, and these weren't like crap fake ones. These are, uh, you know, actual stamped, UK government issued style passports. Now, the only way you can get that is from the state itself, from the intelligence services, which was another thing brought up. But what's going on with devolution of power within the counties? Do you have any thoughts? I reckon Burnham will probably expand upon that. Um, one thing, again, one thing that you'll probably see is it it will be better the for him to have a divide downwards and have regional, I guess a regional Labour leadership, but like a regional form of terror. Um, and I mean, they have it already to a point. I think there are some things. I know that the Police and Crime Commission, the position's been abolished. But when you look at devolution, with Blair back in the day, the main purpose of it was to prevent um, political opposition from um, gaining too much power. Now, it didn't always work. For him, it was the way to keep the Conservatives out of power in with Scotland and Wales. but also it was a way of keeping the nationalist parties, to give them a feeling that they have a bit of power, but also at the same time they don't have enough power. Because you look at the early results in Wales and Scotland, the SNP was second or third, and Plaid Cymru a bit behind, but no, the Labour Party wouldn't have enough to majority, so they'll enter a coalition with nationalist parties there, and then the same thing. It was Northern Ireland again. It was just you know this sort of ambiguous position of like a like a like a Balkans, Kosovo, Serbia agreement where we can pretend some of the time you're part of the United Kingdom and pretend the other time you're part of Ireland. So yeah, they're expanding Torbay Council, Exeter and Plymouth. Torbay is taking on Newton Abbot. Yeah, you're going to see a greater expansion of more urban areas into more rural areas, and you're going to see a greater level of changes in that, and it's going to be to keep cement political control. I think the biggest concern for any system is particularly this one, because I don't think Burnham or his guys will be as tactful with they can't use persuasion techniques now. They can't use mass media, because that doesn't work. And that's why, and I don't think it's just Burnham. I think it's probably been the state for a long time. Have thought people aren't buying in now. And I just don't mean like us moaning about it on social media or something, but that there are people who know deep down there's something wrong, the country isn't working, yada yada yada. And so now it's literally just to get the thugs on the street, and create form of terror. I would say there was the effort to import people from the third world, particularly individuals who are known sex offenders and rapists and criminals themselves, was also a ploy to institute a form of terror, but also to distract the right. We can port these people in, they'll commit rapes and all that sort of stuff, and they'll be like it will give energy for the right wing in a certain direction that we can manage. So I think that, and I'm going to see more of that, unfortunately. But there will be pressure. I mean, Restore is already moderated to the centre. Reform did that. That's just how it is. You can't. Going back to someone's previous comments on the BNP, the BNP held out for as long as they could, and I mean, there was a bit of lip service, but at the same time, when you just hold out like that, you end up, you know, violence. They resort to violence. I remember with Nick Griffin on Question Time, you had a mob outside wanting to get at him, and then the people in the audience there, were calling him literally the devil. It wasn't a debate; it was just a kangaroo court, because liberals in our society love instituting terror and to hold on to power. So that's sort of where we are. I think, let's say that's a sort of long monologue on that. I think they're paid mob. Yeah, I mean all Antifa, right? And let me on the set. Let me just get rid of this a minute. Let's cast back to, if you remember the Southport riots. The after what was the don't know if I can find it. Okay, so if you remember, after the Southport during the Southport riots, there was meant to be this big day where the right were all going to come out on the street. There'll be millions, and it was all apparently it was all over Telegram, and they were going to take over. And there was a special Cobra meeting. You had like chiefs of police, Metropolitan, all the police forces meeting and representatives meeting at Downing Street. And it was meant to be this whole big thing, and I immediately realised because I checked in on people at say uh, Patriotic PA, Patriotic Alternative, who organised demos, Facebook groups that organised demos, even Mr. Tommy Robinson himself, who organised his little outfits demos as well. Nobody was organising anything, and there was nothing that, in many ways, was actually dying down because there weren't that many people. Probably about a few thousand people involved with those rioting and demonstrations. But as a show of force on the day, you had the trade unionist movement, you had um, the Socialist Workers' Party, you had the all the trade unions with their members, um, and countless people in um, local government, because all the local government's made up of trade unionist people. They're all made up of Labour Party lackeys who came out on the street, and there was a show of unity. Yeah, Lukey remembers that. And every single newspaper, from the nominally right-wing paper to the left-wing papers, social papers, had pictures of all these people on the streets of London, Birmingham, Manchester, Brighton, Exeter, Plymouth, and it was all like the people defiantly came out against the far right, and that's what they do. That's what they do. I mean, on that occasion, what it was the collective. I remember because I did a stream. I remember I did a stream on that. You probably find it on the back catalogue somewhere. I think I called it uh what I can't remember it now. What I called it now. It was something was it cognitive dissonance or something like that. And I said that this was kind of the because the um nudge unit wasn't there to control public emotion. You had the public turned on liberal order and their client groups. The British people turned on them. And as a result, as a form of cathartic release, so the liberals felt they were back in control, and the socialists felt they were back in control. They staged this fake uh, Cable Street win, this Cable Street-esque win, to regain some form of, I guess you could say, sort of power. And so it was, and so in when it all came to an end, it was like, oh yeah, the left won. We won. We won in the end. Which was total nonsense. And then, of course, you remember they clamped down. The people were arrested and they were given trumped up, trumped up charges and were sentenced to ridiculously long sentences as punishment for their dissident behaviour. You know, funny. One thing you notice about the court case, it wasn't the violent nature. The actual physical violent nature of it. It was the fact that it was directed at the wrong people. It was directed at the elites and their clients. That was the main objection. And probably see more of that. Um, my lasting prediction with Burnham though is well, let's start with Truss. Truss will become irrelevant. The Conservative Party may recover under anti-Labour Burnham. The thing though is, I can also see Farage losing to Binface. If I'm absolutely honest, I can see that happening. And when that happens, I mean, Francis already said it. He wants to go off to America and do his talk show. Rupert wants to go off to America and do his talk show. Everyone wants to go off to America and do their talk show. Not me. I might go to. I need to go. Where would I go? Where would I go to do a talk show elsewhere? Maybe Tahiti, Sandwich Islands, Falkland Islands. Might go off to the Falkland Islands and do a talk show. Become a shepherd and do a talk show there. That'd be a good idea. Be fun. That sounds like a plan. But yeah, I mean, look, this is what we're faced with. There's no will to fight for this country. Do you know what I actually hate the most about this? These fuckers who say all this. Oh, if I don't win, I'm going to go off to America. It's like they don't want to fight for this country. If you don't want to fight for this country, how the fuck are you going to get people to support you? How are you going to get people to vote for you? How are you going to get people to view you as, as honest and as someone to vote for? Because with these people, the snake oil salesman trope follows them about. And that's one criticism people on the left have of a lot of reform, and a lot of people on the right, that they behave like Matt Goodwin and people like that. There's like an element of snake oil salesman, and they are right. They do behave as like snake oil salesmen. So what do you do? What do you do with that? And I'm not so sure of like following blindly one way or the other, because at the end of the day, I want people who'll fight for this country. And if you have a leader who's like, no, I'll just go off to America and I'll hang out with Elon and Asmongold, or I'll go off to America and join Fox and Friends, then what's the point? What are we even doing? What am I doing? I can tell you what I'm doing. I'm actually part of an organization that is helping to restore our national treasures, land and property. I'm actually doing something meaningful. And if something goes wrong, if I make a mistake, or if someone I know makes a mistake, we can't run away to America. If we face political opposition or form of like persecution, we can't really just pack it in. I can't pack it in. I've got people, volunteers, who are really dedicated. What am I going to turn around to them and say, sorry guys, I'm just gonna I've collected all this experience, I'm just gonna sod off now, bye? What sort of person are you when you're in a room full of people, and not just online here, but when you're in a room full of people and you speak to a crowd, an audience, and you feel the energy, because you can't replicate that, what I'm doing here or what other people do. When you feel that energy going back and forth between the crowd and yourself, and the nature of that sort of unity, you're filled with an obligation, they're filled with an obligation, and you must be some cold-hearted psychopath to be on that way of lying. Like, I get the thing is, politicians, they will do this, but in some ways they will um, they'll want to please their audience because they seek approval, I mean, and I think we're all like this. We don't want people to think of us in a positive manner. I don't think that's wrong. I don't think that's wrong. That's not like being deceitful or anything. You want to be viewed by others in a positive light. You don't want to be considered, a liar, deceitful, all that sort of stuff. That's fine. And I think, for some politicians, they want to actually, in some cases, they want to do what be popular, but of course they'll go about and do everything in the sort of wrong way, or they'll come across political realities where they can't do something. But if your initial attitude is, yeah, I'm just gonna, you build up a movement that is, we're limited time, things are getting worse, we need to do something now, and then like the next breath saying, oh yeah, if everything get if I can't achieve what I want, I'll just go fuck off to America in a few years. What is this? I don't get it. Maybe some of you get. I don't get it. But yeah, investing in these groups is positive. Yeah. I mean, I might make this, and I'm going to be sort of honest with you guys. I think I'm just going to retire from talking about politics now, because it usually goes into, I'll talk about this topic, I'll talk about, what the government, or what the story is of the day. Then I'll say, and let's see what Tommy. Oh yeah, 'cause, Tommy, he's a liar because he's got foreign backers in Israel that, that he's doing their bidding. Oh, let's look at, this guy, Restore. Oh yeah, they're backed by Elon Musk. Well, they'll be doing his bidding. Well, let's look at Reform. Oh right, yeah, they got some cryptocurrency millionaire, um, gobshite, be doing their bidding. Oh, let's look at the Tory party. Oh, it'll be like some, nameless, you know, conglomerate of people from the city. Oh, let's look at the Labour Party. Oh, yeah, same people. Also, like trade unionists. Um, Mappin down in Cornwall with his Scientology base castle or whatever. I mean, it's worse than Football Manager at this rate. It really is. All of these people are shysters. All these people are deceitful, and all of these people. Um, I mean, be honest. Just say like, yeah, we're a small outfit. We have backers. The group I have, we have backers. We have financial backers. We want to be approached by financial backers, for our charity work. And it'd be like, and then someone said to me, "Oh yeah, you're in." Let's say like Joe Bloggs, the millionaire, gives you like a decent backing. They're like, yeah, you're in the pocket of him. Damn right I am. Yeah, because we said to him, we want to do this, and you're giving us money to do it. That's great. But I'm not going to say to people, "Oh no, we have nothing to do with this guy." Like, yeah, of course we do. Of course we do. It's not political what we do or anything like that. It's really positive. It's really good. And we've had people from all, um, political, even people on the left who have wanted to join. And well, we've kept, let's say, on the leadership bit. I mean, on the volunteering bit, if they want to go and do like stuff like that, that anyone can. But on the leadership bit, we do have a core belief, and I I just think I'm gonna not just stop talking about politics now, because I've had enough of it, and it's boring, it's repetitive, it's full of people who are just shit. Um, it's going to get even shittier, and everything on. I mean, to what, Lotus Eaters and everything, If you watch their like, and I went the first time they when you had Callum there and they were releasing content, it was good. It's not just me, right? I think a lot of the quality from commentators on, uh, back in the day was better. I mean, you did have your sloppier moments, but it was better subjects and what have you. Today, what they do is they'll talk down, they'll say how crap Britain is, and it will be packaged to a foreign audience, usually American audience, but it'll be like, "Oh, look how crap Europe is, or look how crap Britain is," and then it'll be packaged to that. You're not even really commentating on British politics. You're just like packaging a story for someone else, and that's the same with Tommy. That's the same with all these guys. Well, what do I know? Yeah, I think I'm going to call quits on talking about politics now. I was going to say it's over for me because you can't really change it. I mean, number one, we can't change anything now. Situation has gotten worse. Um, there's nothing really of value I can add going forward. I'll talk about history. I'll continue my history stuff because I enjoy that. Art. We'll do another art stream with the guys. Get some guests on. Uh, talk about literature. Maybe get Aaron Hook on stuff like that. Politics. I'm out now. I mean, it was fake to begin with. It's even faker now, and it's full of just total cretins. And nothing we say really matters because it has no impact on it has no direct influence or impact. So what's the point? What's the point? We're going to be like terrorized in our own homes shortly, in real life. So might as well find a pastime because like otherwise your mind's just going to go to a dark place. As I said, the reason why I'm sort of stuck here is somebody decided to attempt to chuck himself off a bridge. So I wonder if he did it actually or didn't. Do you think he pushed that? I'm joking. I'm hoping he didn't. It's really bad um, that it's really bad shit. Um, if you ever have like those thoughts, go get help somewhere. Don't worry about it. Don't broadcast it or anything, but just go and get help because um, I can tell you from people that I've met who've attempted, there's an instant regret, instant regret. So never never do that shit. It's a terrible thing. EU renewed its mass spying surveillance online. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you remember from the was it WikiLeaks? We Britain. Um, I mean, I don't like Julian Assange, and because he the liberal they liked him when he released all the personal informations of the BNP activists online. But then of course, um it was then posted about how uh, we spy on each other's countries. We have long history of data farming. So yeah, one thing I noticed that's been rolled out is, I mean, you've got the biometric ID stuff, which has now been really heavily enforced when it comes to using like phones and various appliances, but also um, you're going to see in the next few years face scanning in like more public places. So when you go to like a tube or a train station or anywhere in public, you'll probably be forced to like have a clear vision of your face so it can be scanned into the system, can be put up there, you know. But I work on the assumption everyone has our ID. I mean, everyone has our is able to track us. We're all of us on like now are online. You can anyone can track us. Anyone can find out information about us. So doesn't really. Doesn't really matter. Just doesn't matter. Oh yeah, I don't like how this country in the West is run. They know it, I know it. Doesn't really matter to me now. So it's shit when you have fucks like Hope Not Hate who go after decent people and do hit pieces, and like proper just because they're doxing. They'll contact people's workplaces, and um, I I do think people um there have been people who like lost jobs. Some have been able to weather the storm and stuff when it comes to that. If you're self-employed, and there was like one, he was self-employed, so he was okay, but to a degree. But there was like a very ruthless campaign. Uh, the one I do remember was Iconoclast, but because he was campaigning back in the day against the Labour Party on a local seat area, he sort of he actually kicked a very big hornet's nest. Hence why I think they came down on top of him like a ton of bricks. But and Ayatollah and all those P figures, um, but they've come after a lot of people who have traction, who gain traction, who get at the heart of criticizing what they get up to. Yeah, and can be careful what I say online. I haven't returned to X. I mean, my advice is I am wondering about X because I've sort of I can't use X now because I very rarely use it. I use it for DMs. I basically use it as a messenger service for people that I know. But the one place I would not go on to is Telegram, just because from my experience on Telegram, there's a lot of sussy people on there who want people to say and do um, well, shit, and levels of entrapment, all that. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'm going to head off now. As I say, this was an impromptu stream talking about this. Burnham will not save. He'll become as unpopular. Probably, he'll be more unpopular. He'll be more unpopular than even unimpopular. He'll become even more unpopular than Starmer um, has ever will be. My CEO is a Marxist. I get sick of Sigmas crying about racism and on the back of children getting chopped up. Yeah, mine one as well. He was actually, mad during the George Floyd stuff, and he's Irish as well. He's like, oh, I mean, that's like, do you know when? With just sort of going on a bit of a tangent here, when certain groups, you know, like European groups, certain leftists within groups, like there are certain groups when they're left wing are real cunts. They're just real scumbag. A left wing Scot and Irish, a left wing Welsh person is sort of silly. You can sort of laugh at because they're just sort of silly people. But a left wing Scot and Irish are just like the Scottish nationalists and Sinn Féin types in Ireland. They are just absolute smug bastards of the first order. Particularly the Scots, they are just absolute smug fuckers. Um, it's annoying in some ways how bad they are. Yeah, I Scouse the Scousers. I mean, I won't say anything about the Scousers because I'm the Scousers do annoy me to a degree. I won't lie. They do annoy me. Um, I think yeah. You know you have this sort of whingy crybaby mentality. There's certain groups can't. Um, the whingy crybaby mentality that I can like list a number of people of groups and nations that behave like this. Um, Irish are one of them. I'm sorry, they do. I'm sorry. Um, Not the Ulster Scots, I will grant you, they don't. But you know, the Irish do. Um, I mean, I think you probably know what one other group does. Um, Argentinians to a lesser, lesser. Maybe that's the Welsh side. Maybe that's like sort of the Welsh side coming out. I don't know. But then they have Germanic side. I don't know. It's like there's like a. I don't understand that sort of like crybaby sort of stuff. It's weird that maybe they don't have a much Germanic DNA as they like to make out. Brazil was usually the one place that has a lot of Germans. That's probably one thing they don't talk about enough is actually it's Brazil. Um, anyway, sorry, go on. People list the people I hate. Number one, the Irish. Number two, the joking. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate the Irish. Joking. I like everybody equally. I hate everybody equally. Yeah, so that's where we are. Um, yeah, so Andy Burnham will become as unpopular as ever, and Liz Truss will continue to slot post. And I guarantee you, CPAC UK is going absolute fucking nowhere. They couldn't even get the turning point twats to turn up to like fill the seats there. So yeah, nobody turned up to the party. Nobody turned up to the party. Nobody of quality turned up to the party. But that is the that is your British right, your British Conservative movement in a nutshell. Nobody of quality turns up. That should be a plaque. That should be a plaque on the motto of the Conservative Party and Reform. Nobody of quality turns up. On that note, I'll see you all later.